Coming up on UCF Nightly News. See how students working at local restaurants and bars feel about Phase 3, opening up to full capacity.
And how UCF students feel about the possibility of getting COVID-19.
Also hear about the new proposal Governor DeSantis made, which would put harsher laws in place for protesters.
Nightly News starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Stephen Parchment.
And I'm Katie Sivco. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020.
We have some breaking news this morning. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump tested positive for COVID-19. While Trump states he and Melania will begin quarantine and recovery immediately, Vice President Mike Pence and his wife and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo all tested negative. A White House official says Trump is experiencing mild symptoms. College Democrats say their thoughts are with Trump, while the college Republicans say it's shameful to celebrate. Former Vice President and Democratic nominee Joe Biden and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, also tested negative.
A 30-year-old male is on a psychiatric hold following events that took place last night. Orange County Sheriff's Office released this statement stating an armed suicidal male threatened to harm himself. Deputies responded to a call around 9:28 p.m. with reports of the armed man at World of Beer, a local bar just a few miles from campus. And after a standoff with SWAT, the man is in custody and has been transported to a local hospital under the Baker Act.
Florida is now in Phase 3 of reopening after an announcement made by Governor Ron DeSantis. He says bars, pubs, and nightclubs may operate at full capacity with limited social distancing. Gyms and other recreational events will also be fully opened. UCF released a statement this week announcing there will be no changes in the university's policies after entering Phase 3. Facial coverings and social distancing are still mandatory. However, there are still some new cases popping up. Here's your nightly COVID update. Orange County reports more than 40,400 total cases and 470 deaths since March. And Johns Hopkins University reports over 709,000 total cases and 14,400 deaths in Florida, with over 7 million national cases.
Random COVID testing is set to continue, targeting different groups throughout the semester. University officials say the next group tested will be residents of on-campus housing. They say the groups chosen to be tested haven't done anything wrong. They may just be at a higher risk. UCF currently has a total of 95 positive cases, and UCF officials say these positive tests are from both random testing and case orders provided by Student Health Services.
Restaurants are also able to open up to full capacity with limited social distancing following the Phase 3 announcement. UCF students working at local bars and restaurants tell Nightly News reporter Easton Underdahl how they feel about Phase 3.
Local bars and restaurants are already seeing more customers following Governor DeSantis' Phase 3 announcement.
There will not be limitations from the state of Florida.
Phase 3 states that it's up to business owners if they want to implement social distancing, mask wearing, and other safety regulations. Jessie Pena is currently working at Bar Louie, a gastro bar many students frequent. She's noticing an increase in customers who are disregarding their mask policy.
They're not really social distancing and people kind of just forget, and it's happened recently where I have to continuously remind people hey, if you're getting up, can you please put your mask on?
Some bars have enough space for restaurant workers and customers to both feel comfortable. But servers in smaller bars feel that it's harder to implement social distancing. With Phase 3 allowing Knight's Pub to reopen, public Snapchat posts revealed little to no mask use or social distancing inside, concerning some students. Amari Blake is a UCF health admin major working at the historic Welburn Hotel in downtown Orlando. She says the large garden area that once made it hard to control capacity levels now gives guests more room to space out.
People will have them off, but it's a bigger area, and they're still seated, but if people usually if they order at the bar and stuff, a majority of the people still keep their masks on.
Now that restaurants and bars are open, service workers are trying to make up at least some of their losses. In Orlando, Easton Underdahl, UCF Nightly News.
Other businesses like movie theaters, concert halls, and even beaches can also reopen to full capacity with limited social distancing under Phase 3. Orange County's Mayor Jerry Demings says masks are still required.
While some may be excited about restaurants opening to full capacity, others are worried about their safety at theme parks. Nightly News reporter Lexi Vasquez tells us how theme parks are operating during Phase 3.
Oh, the places you'll go. Florida is now entering a Phase 3 reopening plan, and Universal Orlando says they're planning on changing their restrictions.
Theme parks can now return to normal operations with no mandatory regulations or attendance caps. And Universal employees say there's a chance at increased capacity limits. Universal's theme park are also changing their times this weekend for more hours of fun. Photonics and engineering student Cameron Woodbury says he doesn't feel safe going to the parks if they open at full capacity.
Going to a park, even in a minimum capacity, that was more people than I wanted to see in a day already off the bat.
Universal is still requiring social distancing measures and face masks must be worn at all times. There are also hand sanitizing stations throughout the park. Assistant Professor of Theme Park and Attraction Management, Carissa Baker says, the safety of the employees and guests is the most important.
Certainly the sanitary guidelines are probably going to stay in play at the theme parks, especially because, again, going back to guests need to feel safe. That's one of the core components of the theme park experience is feeling safe.
Baker says that since theme parks laid off many employees because of the pandemic, it is not possible to achieve full capacity without all of their employees. So it will be a gradual process. In Orlando, Lexi Vasquez, UCF Nightly News.
A Disney employee says Disney sent a general email to their employees saying they're laying off people because of the pandemic and says they're grateful for their hard work.
State health data shows a 23% jump in COVID cases in the 15 to 24 age group. UCF Nightly News reporter Charlotte Tratner tells us this has become some students say they just want to get it over with.
I didn't want to get it at home. So before coming, I really just wanted to get it here at college and not get it with my parents so I could just have the antibodies.
That's Nicole Florin, a freshman who tested positive for COVID-19 at UCF. The CDC says the number of young people testing positive for COVID-19 is growing, driven by college towns and students known as super spreaders. UCF alone reports more than 500 cases since reopening in August. Although the university is promoting healthy habits and quarantining anyone who tests positive or comes in contact with the virus, Florin's roommates Delaney Embrus Galligan and Larissa Oren say no one is making sure they stay quarantined.
They're not monitoring us. Like, if we wanted to leave, we could walk out and leave right now. But they have, called us to, how are your symptoms today? Are you showing any symptoms?
The CDC encourages young adults to take health precautions like wearing masks and maintaining social distances. In Orlando, Charlotte Tratner, UCF Nightly News.
These college super spreaders can become an issue following a new bill proposed by Governor DeSantis.
The new bill proposed by DeSantis serves as a Bill of Rights for college students that would allow them to party without punishment. The bill is mainly focused on eliminating potential penalties that college students would face if they were to throw a party or attend a party regardless of whether or not social distancing and mask policies are followed. DeSantis says that partying is something college kids do and students are generally low risk for COVID-19. UCF senior Jake McLaurin says that students who party despite the risks should be punished.
I think if they're aware of these things and they still do it anyways, then they deserve to suffer the consequences. So I don't really agree with that.
McLaurin says Floridians must continue to adapt to and accept COVID policies in order for things to get better. Florida is currently third in the U.S. for total COVID-19 cases. Initiatives like UCF's Armor Up campaign are being used to coerce students into acting in a safe and responsible manner. Where noncompliance would be punished by UCF, the proposed Bill of Rights would protect students from any actions taken.
While Governor DeSantis is loosening restrictions for students and partying, he's trying to have harsher laws put in place for protesters in Florida. Nightly News reporter Lauren Margolis tells us more on the governor's proposal.
Governor Ron DeSantis says he wants harsher laws put in place for Florida protesters, but experts say his proposal may not go very far. Larry Walker is an assistant professor and expert on issues of race. He believes protesting is important and says now is the time for change.
We should be encouraging people to protest and to vote. And if we're not doing that, then we have to ask ourselves, is that consistent with the principles in which this country was founded?
DeSantis is calling the bill the Combating Violence, Disorder, and Looting and Law Enforcement Protection Act. If it passes, there will be felony-level penalties for protesters who block roadways, cause injury, or destroy public property. Social historian and associate professor of history Robert Casanello predicts the courts won't accept his proposal.
Just based on, First Amendment issues, I would think that it probably would have a hard time passing.
Psychology major Whitney Crocker protests for the Black Lives Matter movement and talks about her experience at a downtown Orlando protest this summer.
We were immediately scared because all you heard was sirens everywhere, even though no one was doing anything, but there were police everywhere.
Governor DeSantis says he plans on talking about his proposal in more detail during an organizational session in November. In Orlando, Lauren Margolis, UCF Nightly News.
The act states visitors from other states who protest in Florida can also have extra penalties imposed on them.
I noticed it was cooler than usual this morning. Fritz, how's the weather?
Yes, Katie, it's a little bit cool today. Here are our current conditions. Currently, it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and our humidity is at 79 degrees, or percent, excuse me. Winds are blowing northwest at 6 miles per hour, and our chance of rain, possible showers. So I'd keep an umbrella handy. Now let's take a look at tonight. Tonight, our low will be at 68 degrees, and our humidity and our winds are going north at 5 miles per hour, and our chance of rain is at 20%. That's all the time I have for now. Back to you, Katie and Steven.
Climate change is climbing up on the list of voter concerns. Learn how global warming is affecting presidential candidates' platforms.
Find out how Puerto Rico is preparing for government funds and how it affects Central Florida.
Temperatures in Florida continue to rise due to the impacts of global warming. President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden discussed the impacts of global warming at the first presidential debate earlier this week. A study done by the Thomson Reuters Foundation shows that climate change is moving up on the list of voter concerns. Nearly 40% say the issue will be crucial in how they cast their ballots in the 2020 presidential election. Co-director of the Florida Climate Institute, Professor Peter Yaquiz, says we have to start now in order to help curb climate change impacts.
When it comes to climate change, well, certainly consciousness and purposeful deliberation towards decarbonizing the economy it's got to happen. Otherwise, we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Professor Yaquiz says starting to fight climate change now will be costly, but that the costs will far outweigh the damages avoided. Both presidential candidates say they will be doing something to help the impact of global warming.
Now we go to the island of Puerto Rico, where UCF Nightly News reporter Hector Garcia de Leon tells us why changes in Puerto Rico are affecting us here in Central Florida.
Puerto Rico is preparing to receive one of the largest federal grants ever given to the island, $13 billion to be exact. President Donald Trump announced that this money is meant to help Puerto Rico reconstruct buildings and the electric grids on the island that were damaged following Hurricane Maria.
My administration is making the largest emergency relief award in history to rebuild Puerto Rico's electrical grid and educational system.
With many buildings and infrastructures like the ones behind me getting ready to be renovated with these funds, many are worried the funds won't be used correctly. Puerto Rican students at UCF are among those concerned, and some of those students say it is because it affects them directly here in Central Florida. Director of Puerto Rico Research Hub Dr. Fernando Rivera says that because the Puerto Rican population has increased, Central Florida plays a key role in Puerto Rico.
The future of Puerto Rico and Central Florida are intertwined, right? Obviously, we know that there was a spike in the Puerto Rican population coming here after Hurricane Maria, and eventually that leveled off, but that doesn't mean that the economic conditions in Puerto Rico have improved at all.
FEMA officials say getting approval for the money is a long process, but many citizens here on the island are thankful it's on its way. In San Juan, Puerto Rico, Hector Garcia de Leon, UCF Nightly News.
Presidential candidate Joe Biden says if he were to become president, he plans to help Puerto Rico receive better care and assistance from the United States as well.
Coming up, Fritz tells us what the weather is looking like this week.
Plus, a new UCF study finds keeping a gratitude journal can increase workplace productivity.
As the state grapples with the effects of COVID-19, many industries are holding off on hiring new employees. Nightly News reporter Katie Sivco spoke to UCF graduates who are eager to find work but can't.
UCF psychology alumna Emily Harlow is still job hunting after months of no luck. And Harlow is only one of many recent graduates who say their options for work look limited due to COVID-19.
Being in a pandemic is so different looking for a job because all of the advice that people give you, like the interview tricks, it doesn't help as much as it would without the pandemic.
New data from Indeed, a popular job search engine, states job postings on the site are down by 17.5% compared to 2019. Executive Director of Career Services Lynn Hansen says college grads have fewer jobs available to them because fewer companies are hiring due to the pandemic's impact. Hansen says students and alumni should see a career counselor if they want to stand out in a competitive job market.
The students that are going to be coming out of college right now will have opportunities. They just may not be where they thought they were going to be a year ago.
However, Hansen says she's optimistic that more job opportunities in the service industry will pop up as the state moves into Phase 3 reopening. In Orlando, Katie Sivco, UCF Knightly News.
Students who want help finding a job can set up a career counseling appointment through the UCF Handshake app.
A recent UCF study shows keeping a gratitude journal can decrease work tension. Nightly News reporter Charlotte Tratner tells us how gratitude journaling can increase work productivity.
Bullying, gossiping, and exclusion are just some of the problems UCF researchers found that can negatively impact workplace performance. Research shows people who experience mistreatment at work are likely to perform worse. But a UCF study found journaling for a few minutes each day can improve overall morale. Associate Professor of Management Shannon Taylor says those who took 3 to 5 minutes to record what they were grateful for behaved better than those who did not.
Is people who are contemplating and reflecting on their people in their lives and things and whatever else that they're grateful for engage in less bad behavior, according to their coworkers.
While fostering gratitude norms in work environments is important, Lauren Locklear, the lead researcher and PhD student, says there's a lot of misplaced gratitude during COVID-19.
We see a lot of ads and stuff right now that are like, thank you, essential personnel, we really appreciate you. But those same people maybe aren't getting, raises or PPE or whatever.
Nonetheless, Locklear says gratitude journals can help people find the silver lining during challenging times and encourages practicing sincere and authentic appreciation to essential workers and colleagues. In Orlando, Charlotte Tratner, UCF Nightly News.
To learn more about gratitude journals and how they can make a difference, visit nsmtoday.com.
Hey Fritz, how's the weather looking for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, Stephen, tomorrow's game is going to look a little bit cool, but first let's take a look at the forecast throughout the state. Up north in Tallahassee, they're at 76 degrees Fahrenheit, Jacksonville is at 79, Tampa and Orlando are both at 84, and down south in Miami, they are at 84 as well. Tallahassee, up in the capital, they're at 54 degrees, a very cool 54. Jacksonville is at 60, Orlando and Tampa are both at 68, and Miami is at a warm 76. Now let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Saturday, our high will be at 81, and the low will be at 69 during the game, and our chance of rain is at 50%. On Sunday, our high is at 81 degrees Fahrenheit, low of 70, and an 80% chance of rain. So on that day, I'd be sure to grab an umbrella on my way out. Monday, we're at 85 degrees as our high, 74 for the low, and a 50% chance of rain. Tuesday and Wednesday are both at 88 degree highs, 74 degree lows, and between a 50 and 60% chance of rain. Back to you, y'all.
When we come back, Peyton gives you an update on all things sports.
What does UCF football have to say about a series with the Gators?
And here's today's sports update. Knights and Gators fans went on this week. It was on Twitter. Field. Knights fans, athletic director Scott Fritz argued over one game he claimed to make Seattle. He offers fake Knights who games would be in Gainesville and one in Orlando. UCF fans not willing to play in Seattle, which is not. UCF athletic does not fit the Knights football model and is not part of future schedules. Knights football is kicking off their first home game in the Browns house against Tulsa tomorrow. The stadium is divided into 7 zones to allow social distancing, with hand sanitizing stations and mandatory face masks. The 12,000-seat student section is reduced to less than half for the game. And a once-packed Memory Mall will be a ghost town since tailgating and consumption of alcohol is currently prohibited on campus. If the Knights win, it will snap Tulsa's 3-game winning streak over UCF and give them their second win of the season. The game is scheduled to kick off at 7:30 p.m. Knights, that's all the time we have for sports today. Now back to Katie and Steven in the studio.
Thanks, Peyton. We're looking forward to some UCF football, but that's all our time for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on our Twitter at UCF Knightly News.
And if you got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us at nightlynewsucf@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and charge on.